Wow, that last one was a pretty long video for sure. I hope that you found it useful though. Now in this video we're going to style the other elements, and interestingly enough we're actually going to be using the Bootstrap CSS framework for styling them. If you're a web developer, you've definitely heard of Bootstrap before. But first off, I was sloppy in the last video, I'll admit, so let me actually change the basic UI a bit. First, let's change the text of the Q tool buttons at the top. So the first one should not be 3 dots, it should rather be Facebook. The second one should be Twitter. Finally, we'll have Google+. Let's just add a plus sign here. Now, one thing I also forgot to do, and let's see what happens if I preview the application, and let's say I want to log into Facebook, I can click on it and it says clicked. Now, if I want to log into Twitter, you would assume that when I click Twitter, this Facebook will be deselected, but oops, that's not what happens. And if I click this Google+, this definitely doesn't make any sense. But, as I hope you learned by now, there is once again a very simple fix for this. I'm going to close this and then just click each one of these Q tool buttons and change its auto-exclusive property and set it as true. Do that for each button. Now, if I preview the application once again, click Facebook, and once I click on Twitter, voila, it's automatically deselected and it works just as it should. Now let me also change the placeholder text for our Q-line edits here. So this one will be username, of course. And the second one will be password. And since this is a password field, we also want to change its echo mode from normal to password so that we have a masked input. Okay, now we're really ready, I think. Luckily this video is going to have a fairly simple CSS, though I'm still going to explain it, of course. That's why I'm here after all, right? Let's start off from the beginning. So we want both of our Q-line edits to follow the same style, but we don't really have a container element defined, do we? Well, yes we do. The Q dialog itself is a container element too. So I'll just edit the style sheet of the Q dialog, but target Q-line edits. Now I can just right-click the Q dialog, and then same old change style sheet. Once again, I'm going to paste the CSS I already have, and remember this is coming from Bootstrap 3, and then I'll explain it. So let's paste it. Okay, well this is pretty self-explanatory. However, you can see that we're targeting Q-line edit. We have a padding, which is kind of a space between the container and whatever is inside of it, which in our case is going to be the text. The 6 pixel denotes the top padding, so we want the distance between the top border here and our text to be 6 pixels. The 12 pixels is the right padding. Now, this may not be really appropriate for our application, but like I said, this is coming straight from the Bootstrap. Font size is 14 pixels. This is the color of the font. Can't remember what font or what color this is exactly. But I do remember the background color is set to white, and we have a 1 pixel solid border that has a gray color. And finally, a border radius of 4 pixels, which makes the border be a little bit curved on the corners. The focus property changes the Q-line edit when it's focused, or in other words, when it's selected. See here in this edit style sheet, you can see that there's a blue outline when this text box or this plain text edit is focused. Now I can actually get rid of this outline 0 because it's not really applicable to Qt. And let's see what happens if I click OK. You can see we have some problems here, and if I preview the application, you definitely can notice a difference. And if I select it, you see this blue border, and you can see that it's a little bit curved on the corners as well. But if I type something such as Python bow, this is not what we want it to look like. This is happening due to our font size property of 14 pixels. To get rid of this problem, I'm just going to resize these Q-line edits and make them a little bit bigger. And let's preview the application once again, and if I type Python bow right here, it looks like it works just fine. I can type the password. You can see that it has a masked input. Let's close this. And on to our next friend, the Q progress bar. And since it's all alone here, I'm just going to change its own style sheet. Let's do that. right click on it and hit change style sheet. Let me paste my CSS code. I'm still going to wrap it within the Q progress bar. You don't really have to do this when you're editing a style sheet for a specific element, but I think it's good practice. So this is again self-explanatory. I'm setting border to 2 pixels solid of gray, border radius, again make it a little bit curved on the corners. In this case, I'm telling the text to be aligned in the center. Now let me move this edit style sheet dialog so we can see our progress bar, and if I click apply, you can see that it has definitely changed in the way it looks, and we have our text aligned in the center, although we could have done that from the property editor in our object property as well. Alright, that's all great, but here's a really nice trick about CSS styling for the Q progress bar specifically, the chunk property. So right now we have this green progress indicator, or I guess that's what I call it, as a single item, so to speak. So let's separate that into the old style chunks, and I can do that just by using CSS. Let me just paste the chunk CSS that I have. So you can see here that I'm targeting the specific property of chunk, and I'm setting its background color to be something different. I'm setting the chunk width to 10 pixels, and the margin or the distance between the two chunks should be a half pixel really. That's not really good. Let's make it 1 pixel. If I click apply, you can see that suddenly our progress indicator is not a single item. It's split into chunks that all have a width of 10 pixels and have a space of 1 pixel between them and this bluish color, dark bluish color. Now what's really cool about this is that even though we don't really have a Q progress bar object property of chunk mode or whatever, we can still make it happen using CSS, and that's perfectly valid. There are lots of these special CSS properties when it comes to Qt CSS styling, which you can find in the Qt documentation. Hit OK here. And let me resize our Qt progress bar a little bit. And finally, we have our login button that's still on style. So I'm just going to change its own style sheet. And once again, I'll shamelessly steal from Bootstrap. So I'll just paste the code that I have, and by now you should already understand this code. So I'm targeting Q push button, setting its font size, border, border radius, color, background color, and I'm also setting a specific border color here. Now hovering again is when you hover your mouse over that button. I'm just making sure the color is white of the color of the text in this case, the background color is changed, and the border color is changed too. If I click OK, you can see that the button has definitely changed its style. Let's move it a little bit to the left. And let's preview this application and see what it looks like. Wow, our application is beautiful. I have to say that I'll totally be in love with it if only it had icons in these buttons at the top. No problemo, let's add icons to them.